Before seeking to transform your life, there is one question you must have the courage to ask yourself. Who is truly directing your existence? Is it your soul? Or is it your conditioned mind? Most people move through life without ever becoming aware of this fundamental distinction. They believe they think freely. They believe they choose freely. They believe they act freely. Yet in reality, they are often guided by unconscious mechanisms they have never learned to observe. Inherited fears, accumulated beliefs, repeated habits, desires shaped by the external world. And as long as the mind remains unaware of its own chains, it continues to call them freedom. That is why the first step of any spiritual transformation is not to change the world around you. The first step is to learn to know yourself. Not your name, not your story, not your status, but the one who observes behind all of it. To know that silent presence that exists before thoughts, before fears, before emotions, before conditioning. For deep within you exists a still and unmoving space. A space untouched by the noise of the world. A space that circumstances cannot destroy. A space that time itself cannot alter. This space is the sanctuary of the soul. Yet most people spend their entire lives without ever entering it. Their attention is constantly directed outward. More information, more opinions, more distractions, more stimulation. The modern world has become a vast marketplace where everyone is competing to capture your attention. But few understand that attention is a form of sacred energy. Where your attention goes, your life begins to flow. Where your attention goes, your mind begins to take shape. Where your attention goes, your destiny begins to be built. This is why the ancient sages placed such importance on mastering the mind. They understood something our era seems to have forgotten. An undisciplined mind becomes a servant of chaos. A disciplined mind becomes a bridge to wisdom. Every day, thousands of thoughts pass through your mind. Some are useful, others are not. Some elevate you, others weaken you. But the real problem is not the existence of these thoughts. The real problem is your identification with them. You often believe you are your thoughts, yet you are the one who observes them. You believe you are your fears, yet you are the one who perceives them. You believe you are your emotions, yet you are the one who moves through them. This confusion lies at the root of much of human suffering. For when the mind becomes the master, the soul grows silent. And when the soul grows silent, a human being loses their inner direction. They search everywhere for what can be found nowhere. They pursue goals that never bring them peace. They accumulate experiences without discovering meaning. They fill their lives without filling their hearts. Yet one day, something begins to happen. The soul starts to call. Sometimes through a crisis. Sometimes through deep exhaustion. Sometimes through an inexplicable sense of emptiness. And sometimes simply through a question. A question that arises in the silence. Is this truly the life I came here to live? This question holds immense power, because it often marks the beginning of awakening, the beginning of returning to yourself, the beginning of the true quest. From that moment onward, you begin to understand that the greatest battle was never external. The real battle has always been within, between consciousness and unconsciousness, between presence and distraction, between wisdom and illusion, between the soul and the ego. The ego constantly seeks to possess. The soul seeks to understand. The ego seeks to control. The soul seeks alignment. The ego seeks recognition. The soul seeks authenticity. And every day of your life becomes a field where these two forces meet. This is why mastery of the mind is essential. Not to suppress thoughts, not to fight emotions, but to reclaim your inner sovereignty. To stop being carried away by every fear, every desire, every impulse. For the person who cannot master their mind becomes a slave to their reactions. But the one who learns to observe the mind begins to discover a new kind of freedom. A freedom that nothing external can provide. Gradually, silence no longer feels frightening. Solitude no longer feels empty. Stillness no longer feels uncomfortable. Because you discover that these spaces contain invisible treasures. They contain clarity. They contain wisdom. They contain truth. And above all, they contain the encounter with your true self. At that moment, you understand something the sages have taught for centuries. Peace is not something you obtain. Peace is something you uncover. It has always been present beneath the noise of the mind, beneath the fears, beneath the distractions, beneath the illusions. And as you begin to remove these layers one by one, your vision changes. Your perception changes. Your energy changes. You no longer seek only to succeed in the world. You seek to awaken to yourself. For the greatest victory a human being can achieve is not the conquest of the external world. The greatest victory is the mastery of one's own mind. And it is precisely there that the true journey of the soul begins. A journey that leads not to a place, but to the discovery of what you have always been in the deepest part of yourself. Once you begin observing your mind, another truth gradually reveals itself. A truth that sages have taught for thousands of years. The soul does not grow by chance. It grows through practice. For understanding a truth is not the same as embodying it. Hearing a teaching is not the same as living it. Accumulating knowledge is not the same as developing wisdom. Many seek awakening as though it were an event. As though one day, suddenly, all confusion would disappear. As though peace would descend from the heavens and transform their existence. But reality is different. Awakening is a practice. Self-mastery is a practice. Clarity is a practice. Inner peace is a practice. Each day presents an opportunity to strengthen one of these qualities, or to weaken it. For every day is a school. An invisible school. A school where the soul learns through experience. Where the mind learns through challenges. Where consciousness learns through observation. Yet few people realize what is truly unfolding within their daily lives. They believe they are simply living through events. But behind every event lies a lesson. Behind every difficulty lies an invitation. Behind every obstacle lies an opportunity for inner growth. The problem is that the conditioned mind always seeks to escape discomfort. It seeks ease, instant gratification, distraction, immediate pleasure, because it has been trained to pursue whatever offers quick satisfaction. But the soul functions differently. The soul does not seek what is easy. It seeks what helps it grow. It does not seek permanent comfort. It seeks evolution. It does not seek escape. It seeks truth. That is why an inner conflict often arises. One part of you wants to grow. Another wants to remain within the familiar. One part of you longs for freedom. Another clings to old habits. One part of you seeks the light. Another continues feeding its shadows. And this conflict is natural. Everyone who walks a path of consciousness encounters it. The question is not whether this struggle exists. The question is which part of yourself you choose to nourish each day. For whatever you nourish becomes stronger. Always. If you feed your fears, they expand. If you feed your doubts, they gain ground. If you feed your ego, it always demands more. But if you nourish your awareness grows as well. This is why spiritual traditions place such importance on discipline. Not as a punishment, but as a liberation. For true discipline is not control. True discipline is the art of conscious choice. Choosing what elevates rather than what weakens. Choosing what builds rather than what destroys. Choosing what brings you closer to the soul rather than merely feeding the mind. Every morning, life presents you with this choice. Again, and again, and again. The great spiritual masters did not become wise in a single day. They became wise because they learned to transform every day into a practice. Every thought became an opportunity to observe. Every emotion became an opportunity to learn. Every difficulty became an opportunity to evolve. They understood that mastery is not born in extraordinary moments. It is born in ordinary ones. in the small invisible decisions, in repeated habits, in the choices that no one notices. For it is within the ordinary that the extraordinary is built. Look at nature. The sun rises every day. The seasons follow their cycle. The oceans follow their tides. Everything in the universe obeys a form of natural discipline. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. Everything follows an order. Everything follows a rhythm. And when a human being aligns with this wisdom, something changes. They stop wanting everything immediately. They stop fighting against time. They stop trying to accelerate what requires maturation. They learn to respect the process. For time is not an obstacle. Time is an ally. Each day of practice refines the mind. Each day of presence strengthens awareness. Each day of observation calms the mental noise. Each day of alignment brings the soul closer to its truest expression. That is why patience is such a powerful spiritual virtue. Patience is not inaction. Patience is trust in the process. Trust that invisible seeds will eventually sprout. Trust that silent efforts will bear fruit. Trust that every step matters. The mind wants immediate results. The soul knows how to wait. The mind demands proof. The soul moves forward with faith. The mind wants to control the outcome. The soul focuses on the path. And the deeper you move into this understanding, the more a new peace begins to emerge. You stop being obsessed with the destination. You learn to honor the journey. You stop measuring every step of progress. You learn to trust the invisible transformation. For many things change long before they become visible. Awareness changes. Energy changes. Perception changes. Vision changes. And when your vision changes, the world begins to appear differently. This is how the training of the mind gradually transforms the entire being. Not through force. Not through struggle. But through consistent practice. Through repeated presence. Through daily devotion to the inner path. And one day, without even realizing it, you discover that the battles which once dominated you have lost their power. The fears are weaker. The distractions are less tempting. The reactions are less automatic. Because something within you has become more stable, more conscious, more awakened. And this stability marks the beginning of true mastery. Not mastery over the world, but mastery over oneself. For the one who learns to govern their mind gradually discovers the greatest freedom that can exist. The freedom of no longer being ruled by everything that passes through the mind. And it is from this freedom that the true ascent of the soul begins. As the soul evolves, it discovers a truth few people are willing to face. The greatest obstacle has never been the world. It has always been the mind. A prison built from fear, attachment, illusion, and unconscious habits. No external success can bring lasting peace while these inner chains remain unexamined. This is why every spiritual path begins with the same invitation. Know yourself. Observe yourself. Master yourself. Awakening is not simply finding the light. It is also confronting the shadows. The fears you hide. The wounds you carry. The need for control. The desire for approval. The ego seeks validation. The soul seeks truth. The ego fears loss. The soul trusts the journey. The more you observe your mind, the more you realize that suffering often comes not from life itself, but from your interpretation of it. Every challenge can become a prison, or a lesson. Every obstacle can weaken you, or awaken you. The difference is awareness. When you stop fighting your emotions and start listening to them, they become teachers. Fear reveals attachment. Anger reveals pain. Suffering reveals what still needs healing. Slowly, the mind becomes quieter. Thoughts lose their power. Emotions lose their control. And a deeper silence begins to emerge. A living silence where the soul can finally be heard. From that place, life looks different. You stop trying to control everything. You learn to trust. You stop forcing outcomes. You begin to flow with the wisdom of the journey. What once seemed like failures become lessons. What once seemed like losses become opportunities for growth. The soul did not come here merely to achieve. It came to learn, to evolve, to remember its true nature. And from that remembrance comes a peace that no circumstance can take away. True mastery is not controlling the world. It is remaining centered within it. The awakened person is not free from challenges. They simply no longer lose their inner light when challenges arise. Remember, the mind is a powerful servant, but a terrible master. When the soul guides the mind, life returns to harmony. And every step toward self-mastery becomes a step toward freedom.